Picture a young, poor Native girl. She's a single parent of an 8-year-old boy living on the streets of Bismarck. Soon she becomes addicted to alcohol. Finally, she finds herself behind the bars of the state penitentiary. Hello, my name is Lorraine Davis. I am the founder of the Native American Development Center. I am an enrolled member of the Sisseton-Wahpeton Dakota Sioux tribe. I've been married for 13 years with 4 children. Today, I'm pursuing a doctorate degree in educational leadership to help Native Americans rebuild their lives and families. This young woman I described was me 14 years ago. This presentation is the initiation of what I hope to be an open and honest dialogue to deter the stereotypes about Native Americans. I hope to formulate understanding about Native Americans by sharing my journey with you all today. I'd like to begin by saying that my story is not unique for Native Americans and do not represent all Native Americans today. However, throughout history, Native Americans have struggled with many of these same issues. According to research from Indian Country Today, there are higher rates of addiction, suicide, mental health illness, sexual violence, and other ills among Native people, at least in part influenced by historical trauma, stating that many present-day health disparities can be traced back through epigenetics to a colonial health deficit, the result of colonization and its aftermath. According to another researcher in this report, epigenetics is beginning to uncover scientific proof that the intergenerational trauma is real. Historical trauma, therefore, can be seen as a contributing cause in the development of illnesses such as PTSD, depression, and type 2 diabetes, commonly impacting Native Americans at epidemic rates. Native Americans are historically nomadic people for reasons that stem from survival. Today, we are nomadic for the same reasons. We are trying to survive in a society that is based on economics in urban areas, rather than based on family on the reservation. We want access to community resources and services, higher education, housing and jobs within a thriving economy. However, it is difficult to get a job and access affordable housing within the urban areas. So we bounce back and forth. For some of us, we have to move off the reservation because the environment is toxic for us on the reservation. We may have been succumbed with alcohol and drug addiction. For many of us, it is difficult to make the economic transition from the reservation to the urban area because we lack consumer education. Most times we don't have a high enough credit score or no credit score, or we are restricted because of a criminal history, a past mistake. In my case, it's all that and the result of addiction. It led to my incarceration, homelessness, and even the loss of my custody of my son. When I was 28 years old, I found myself in the state penitentiary, running around the track during recreation, trying to understand who I was at that point in my life. I realized I was having an identity crisis. I found myself asking, who am I? What have I become? This isn't how I was raised. I was ashamed. I felt guilty. And going to prison was my breaking point, but it was also a blessing in disguise. I seen God just put me in there to let me see that that is where my life was going. It was a blessing because I didn't have a felony. See, I asked to go and I asked the judge to send me to treatment to get help. And he sent me to prison. Without realizing, I don't think, that when you're sentenced for 90 days, not a felony, that you actually don't even get to see treatment. See, so I sat in prison. And what I did in that time, because I wanted help, I told him I wanted help. But I sat in prison and I made the best out of it, and I evaluated myself. I humbled myself. I took ownership of where I was. So I used this experience to help others. I made a conscious decision to admit that I cannot run my life on my own and that I needed God. Just days before my release, during that time period I was running around the track, I experienced a revelation. In Jamestown Correctional Center, when they had women there, they had us out on recreation, and I could see the interstate. It was a hot summer day out. And during the summertime in my youth years, I used to dance. I used to fancy dance. And there's a pride in that for us. When we dance, that's our heart. When you hear the drum beating, it's the heart of it's a heartbeat. And there's pride in there, and it's spiritual for us. And I never lost that. I had desired that, and I had desired to go back to that someday. And see, so when we walk the streets, when we're homeless, when we're getting rejected because we don't have anything to offer, but we just need that little bit of hope. We just need that little bit of encouragement. We need that little bit of assistance to get to the next step where prosperity and opportunity can actually come. We can't judge the person by looking afar and looking at them, because you don't know what's inside that soul. Although I wholeheartedly had the desire and intention of succeeding upon my release when I got out of prison, I had nowhere to go. But during that revelation, what I had, I was looking on, and I was looking, and I was seeing cars going back and forth, and I can still see it vividly. And during that time, I was saying, I should be going to a powwow right now. I should be going with my son. And it was just me and my son at that time. And I had already went through tremendous addiction, trauma, and homelessness already at the age 25. I had done that. So going back at 28 again, when I thought I was going to college and going forward, this was a failure. So I was reassessing my life again. And I promised I wouldn't go backwards. And so I'm looking at that, and I'm saying, I'm failing my son, not only myself, my son, my family. And so that was revelation, and that was my identity. See, when we go to prison, we lose our identity. We feel remorseful, and we start assessing who we are, and we start taking that new identity as ourself. And it shouldn't be. Somebody needs to be speaking to them that that's not them. But society doesn't allow us to do that. Society keeps that brand on them for the rest of their life. There's something wrong with that, because it's biblical. In the Bible, it says that you are forgiven. But society's laws doesn't say so. So, being that I am, I realized a time ago that I am against the grain. And I chose to do that because my faith was to another level. And I kept it all that whole time from that day on. And as I was running around that track, I was counteracting those thoughts of that you're a prisoner now, that it's over, it's different now, in a negative light. And instead, I turned it into, no, that's not who I am. This is how I was raised. I was taught values. I was taught how to dance. I had to go all the way back and try to remember. I couldn't even remember the goodness of myself. And I was back to dancing. That's who I was, and I was good at it. I danced, and I was good in school. I excelled in school. I was competitive that way. So during that time, and I went and I escalated with spiritual, and I was running 4 miles a day by that point. And I didn't feel nothing. It wasn't even as if feel like I was running. It was so spiritual. And I was up here, and I was looking, and I started like in conviction. And I said, I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to tell them that they don't need to live like this. I'm going to tell them, I'm going to be that inspiration. I'm going to lead something like that. But when you re-enter, many times you don't have family, that supportive environment, such as myself. See, my mom died when I was 21. My mom left my father from Los Angeles when I was 8. Grandma and grandpa are gone. My homelands are on the reservation. So I re-entered back into Bismarck with the clothes on my back, without a home to go to, an unresolved addiction problem, and a child custody battle. As a Native inmate who lost everything, I was still faced with the choice of either moving back to the reservation or back to the urban area that I came from, or any urban area for that matter. I chose not to give up, so I moved back to Bismarck to continue pursuing my education. I would not accept failure. I knew this was the key to breaking the cycle of poverty. I went back to United Tribes Technical College as a homeless person during the first year, met someone, fell in love, got a home thanks to public housing, got a job thanks to the employment temp agency. I got my son back. I got pregnant by year 2, and I had a family. Although this sounds like a happy ending, and it is, it was extremely hard to stay on a path of education without economic stability. Without faith, it would be impossible to be where I am today. This was the beginning of a new beginning for me. Through these hardships, I discovered new purpose for my life. I founded the Native American Development Center in 2012, and I'm currently pursuing this doctorate degree in education to help our Native people rebuild their lives through life skills development and support services. We provide support groups for Native Americans who are re-entering the community after being incarcerated. This stems from my own transition of not having a safe environment where I could build healthy and sober relationships. I hope to build self-esteem and empower independence through education. Our foundation is cultural identity and spirituality. We put God at the forefront of our lives, leading ourselves and our families. I hope that after this presentation, you will understand that we don't all start from the same place. And when you see that person walking that's homeless or even intoxicated, that you don't say, he should just get a job. Historical trauma is real, folks. And we don't start at that same place. And that Native Americans don't want to be in poverty, homeless, jobless, uneducated, addicted, incarcerated, or parentless. We need generational healing, hope and faith, and we need truth. Someone to believe in us, a society that doesn't look down upon us is critical, and we need opportunities. Native Americans are a resilient people whom are making a comeback to become strong, healthy, educated, and contributing members of society. Thank you.